board in a few school districts designates the superintendent as the budget officer to develop the annual budget. However, the Board of Education in most districts usually tasks the CFO, treasurer, or district business administrator as the budget officer to create the school budget. The act of budgeting for schools represent a major element of financial data activity. Budgeting is the process of allocating finite resources to the prioritized needs of a school district. The adoption of a school district's budget does imply that a set of decisions have been made to match revenue with expenditures. For schools, the budget, however, does not represent the legal authority to spend money. That distinction remains with the appropriation. Regardless of the specific budget method, the budgeting process follows a logical, sequential order in the planning stage by envisioning the desired educational program, submitting necessary documents, and forecasting revenue and expenditure. After these planning steps, actual budget creation begins by examining historical data and assumptions. In budget development, the budget officer balances program needs against revenues and expenditures. Appropriating the funds starts the implementation phase, and the auditing completes the accounting cycle. In Ohio and a few other states, the Budget Commission, comprised of the county auditor, treasurer, and prosecuting attorney, must verify and approve the local millage collection and certify the available revenue before school district personnel commences the general fund budget development. The CFO treasurer in Ohio must file a certificate of estimated resources with the county auditor. When the budget officer has all the necessary documents, the final budget document should consider historical data and assumptions. The CFO treasurer should identify and record actual revenue and the expenses by category from the previous 2 years as a historical perspective to budget for an upcoming fiscal year. Incremental line item or traditional budgeting is a budgeting process based on slight changes from the preceding year's budgeted line items. This is the most common budgeting approach for schools. When program maintenance is the administrative goal or preparation time is an issue, the district should utilize this budgeting approach. Incremental budgeting is simple to implement based on a recent verifiable budget, ensures that departments operate consistently with stable funding, and is easy to understand as well as straightforward for stakeholders to see line item changes. On the other hand, incremental budgeting offers little incentive to conduct a comprehensive review, so overfunded or underfunded line items automatically roll into the new budget, yields little useful data on program successes or failures, and hampers potential growth when a line item is no longer necessary or when a line item requires extra funding, and may lead to extra spending and a waste of resources. Zero-based budgeting starts from a zero base, and every function within an organization is analyzed and justified for its need and cost. Budgets are built around what is necessary for the upcoming period, regardless of whether the budget is higher or lower than the previous year. When district officials aspire to examine each operational aspect or specific programs from the bottom, a zero-based budgeting process would be best. Zero-based budgeting benefits program startups and grant applications due to the confirmed income dollars and specified expenses, increases efficiency and justification in resource allocation, and reduces redundancy. To the contrary, zero-based budgeting requires program knowledge and expertise in order to implement it successfully, demands ample lead time and personnel to collect program data and resulting costs, and consumes a massive amount of staff time. The site-based budgeting emphasizes the decentralization of budgetary decision-making and provides the building staff who are responsible for delivering the children's education with greater responsibility to prepare, justify, implement, and report school level budget data. Site-based budgeting empowers those individuals who best understand the needs of a particular school or program to make allocation decisions, increases local accountability, and facilitates staff participation. On the other hand, the site-based budget method limits budget authority to expenses for instructional supplies, materials, texts, and equipment, and should not address capital projects, debt repayment, district transportation services, employee health insurance, or other personnel costs that must be retained under the central office's authority. It requires skill, experience, and a complex understanding to implement, and focuses on local, not district issues, which makes fully implemented site-based budgeting impractical and burdensome, with a potential increase in conflicts between the staff or departments. Performance-based or outcome-based budgeting links resources to activities that best meet goals and measure outcomes. When administrators want to budget funds strictly on program performance, this method works best. Performance-based budgeting assesses program successes and failures and budgets accordingly, budgets money on performance indicators, targets, and expenditure evaluations. To the contrary, the performance-based budget method lacks measurable data for some district functions, such as administration and auxiliary services expenses, demands much lead time and personnel to implement it successfully, and consumes vast amounts of staff time to acquire input and output indicators. Planning, programming, budgeting, and evaluation, an extension of performance-based budgeting, processes that involve both incremental approaches and performance considerations. When administrators desire to budget funds on a cycle, including evaluation, this method works well. Planning, programming, budgeting, and evaluation systems base expenditures primarily on programs after examination of available funding and expenditure needs. Planning, programming, and evaluation focuses on long-range planning and district objectives, evaluates different program alternatives that may be used to reach long-term district goals and objectives, and reaches stated goals and objectives when known. To the contrary, the planning, programming, budgeting, and evaluation process is limited to district decisions, does not consider long-term goal changes or consensus of objectives, and also consumes a vast amount of staff time to acquire data input and output indicators.